My ancestor Annie Bachan came from the north east of Scotland and travelled to China by boat in the Victorian era. As a single lady 150 years ago, I think this is an amazing thing. She came to be a missionary in China. I didn't know about this story, I didn't know anything about this until recently. However, my story is that at her age, I just finished my training as a junior doctor. I was at a party in Scotland and this lady said to me, my friend works in a tuberculosis hospital in Hong Kong. Well, something about this resonated with me. I was at a stage in my life for making decisions. I either became a family doctor partner or I did something different. So I went home to my Victorian apartment, 2 stories up, and I sat in my perfectly proportioned beige living room and I just mulled this over. The next day I found out the address. I wrote to this hospital applying for a job. They wrote back saying there was no jobs. Life continued. The next month I got a second letter. Someone was on maternity leave. Could I come out, start working on the 1st of August? Well, I walked down Heinlein Road in Glasgow. I went to the travel agent and she sold me a ticket. Bizarrely, not a return ticket. What she offered me was a rather expensive single ticket, which was strange because being a very practical family doctor and wanting to pay my mortgage, after this job in Hong Kong, which I had engaged, I had a job in Surrey in England all lined up for myself to come back to. So I go to Hong Kong at the end of July and I so wish I bought a guidebook because it was 96% humidity, 34 centigrade, not like Scotland. It was really hard work when I got there. I landed off the plane to this noise. I'm used to the peace of Scotland that has 6 million people in a big country. Hong Kong had 6 million people in a very tiny area. And constant noise, hustle and bustle, bright lights, and I come from a small town. And I started working in this tuberculosis hospital run by nuns, run and set up by nuns who were doctors and nurses. They travelled from Ireland and going to treat tuberculosis in China and stopped off in Hong Kong because there was a need. They were doctors and nurses, and actually in Hong Kong we set up the world regime in treating tuberculosis of 4 drugs used together. So half the patients were street sleepers from Wan Chai. Now they had very low immune system because they were drug users, so they got tuberculosis. They smoked opium in those days. You don't see much of this now. And they had opium cauliflower ears. Cauliflower ears were like what boxers get, this big inflamed ear, because they would go to sleep on smooth wooden opium pillows for ages and that would inflame their ear. The other half of the hospital was full of Vietnamese boat people. They came over in their hordes in the 80s to Hong Kong. The hospital was full of them because one person in the boat had tuberculosis, and in the very cramped quarters they transmit the tuberculosis to everyone. The 6 months of this position went very quickly and I became a family doctor in Hong Kong and then what I do now, an integrative health expert. Years went by and I discovered to my amazement that I'd had this ancestor who at my age 150 years previously had also travelled to the Far East, in her case to be a missionary in China. I've since learned that generations do transmit things other than simply eye colour and physical attributes. What I've learned from her has been passion and faith, and my personal belief is that as human beings we can connect to the essence of our own DNA. There's something in our genetics that perhaps we resonate with, perhaps in some holographic manner, but something that we can grasp hold of. Some of these qualities of our ancestors that we can grasp hold of out of the ether and bring into our being. So it's almost like in the genes we have this resonance through our DNA itself. We have this magnetic resonance with the generations, with our ancestors. And I like to think that we can learn from their good points, their strong points, their attributes in order to bring things into this lifetime.